Hi everyone, Mama Shark here, hashtag the mom that does it all. Thank you guys for tuning in today. Breastfeeding mamas, you don't want to pump inefficiently. You definitely don't want to deal with unnecessary pain that comes with pumping, and you don't want to lose your milk supply, right? So you have to make sure that you have the right flange size. If you don't know what flanges are, please stick around. I'll also tell you what those are. All right guys, so you're gonna ask yourself, what is a flange? A flange is a collection tube. It comes in many different sizes with the pumps that you buy. So depending on what pump you wanna buy, they all come in different sizes. They usually have the size number right up here around the flange or on the side. Like this is a 30mm Medela. This is a 28mm Spectra. And this is the most common size, the 24mm Medela. I also have the Willow. I use the 24mm, and the LV, and again I use the 24mm. So usually most women are at 24mm, but it's really important to know what size you are. Why is it important, you might ask? It is important because you don't want to spend unnecessary time pumping inefficiently and not getting the milk that you need. Also, not pumping efficiently will affect your breast milk supply, especially if you're exclusively pumping and you don't have a baby properly emptying your breasts. Or using the incorrect size will also be very uncomfortable, might actually hurt you some way or the other, especially if you're using really high suction. Also, the sizing affects pain. So you might be pumping too small, it's gonna be really painful. Too big, you're gonna have a lot of the areola going into the flange, and that's gonna be painful and inefficient at the same time. Okay, so now let's talk about how you actually measure. So we have two methods that I can tell you about. The first method is not as accurate and it requires a lot of visualization. The second method is actually the method that I would suggest you use because you're actually measuring your nipples. The first method is actually really simple. What you're gonna do is you're going to take the flange. So I'm gonna take the 22mm, for example, Medela flange. As you can see here, there's actually, you want to make sure the nipple is centered, and that is the case for any pump. There's actually a lot of airspace in between the nipple and the outside of the flange, which means that's a little too big. Because what's going to happen here is when you start pumping, the areola is going to go into the flange, and that's going to be inefficient. That's what happened to me when I used the 27mm. It was very inefficient, and it took in all the areola into the flange. Not necessarily too painful, but just not efficient. It wasted my time and could have affected my supply very negatively. What you want to see though is your nipples sitting in there and making sure that you have at least between your nipple and the outside of the flange at least 1 to 2 millimeters. That's when you know you have the correct size. Now, if you have the nipple literally filling up the whole flange and you're having some scraping against the sides, you know you're using too small of a size. Now let's talk about method 2, which is a little bit more accurate because you're actually measuring the nipple. So this is when we're going to use this awesome ruler from Maymom. Again, link in the description box below. And I'm gonna go ahead and cut out this ruler and show you how to use it. All right guys, method 2, we're gonna go ahead and measure using an actual ruler. So let's go ahead and cut. Definitely read the instructions, but you're gonna cut along the red lines, which I'll go ahead and do now. Cut through right here. We still have some red lines here. bend along the green line, just like this. And then now we're gonna put it together. See what it looks like from the back? Just like that. Okay guys, so this is our ruler right now. Moves in and out. You're going to pump for 15 minutes. As you are aware, after you pump, your nipples actually expand. So that is why it's important to pump first before you measure. And go ahead and then take the measurement around the area of your nipple. Make sure that you're only measuring the nipple. It shows 12 millimeters here. As you guys are aware, this is not going to be the case for a lot of people. That's actually really small, but this is just for demonstration purposes. So make sure you measure your nipple. After you measure your nipple, you're going to choose a flange that is 1 to 2 millimeters larger than your nipple diameter. So here, assuming it is 12 millimeters, what you're gonna do is just add 2. So your nipple size would be 14 millimeters. If you measure before a pumping session, so let's say you didn't have time because you're sleep deprived, you're going to do the same thing, measure before you pump, but this time, once you take your measurements, you're going to add 3 or 5 millimeters larger than the nipple diameter. Again, because your nipples are not expanded, you haven't pumped, so they're not in the state that they would be when you're pumping. So let's say 12 millimeters, let's say you get 10 millimeters before you pump. You're going to add 3 to 5 millimeters larger, so you'd be a 15 millimeter size flange. Okay guys, so now that you know your nipple size and you're worried that a certain pump that you love does not make the flange size that you require, there's actually ways you can make it work for you by using inserts. I will have a really good video on inserts and how to properly use inserts for changing measurements, increasing breast pumping output, or whatever it is, coming up soon. So please make sure to subscribe to my channel, like and comment, and tell me what you guys want to see. Thank you guys for watching.